In this video, I want to share with you how you can make over $1 million by being a professional speaker. Now, saying that's quite a bold thing to say, right? $1 million from being a speaker, that's kind of crazy. Well, let me tell you my story. I've now spoken in 38 different countries, from Australia, the Seychelles, South Africa, Canada, the US, all over Europe, Russia, Kazakhstan, these crazy countries. And I want to be able to share with you how I've done this. Now, this is kind of a little bit crazy. I don't usually share like crazy numbers of what can happen, but I think it's important to take you back to the beginning. So my mum and dad, they were involved in a network marketing company, and I decided to join them after saying no for 4 years. I was 18 years old. I said, no. I'm not a crazy extrovert. I'm not a professional speaker. And I thought you had to be an extroverted speaker in order to stand at the front of the room with a flip chart and a pen and draw circles and a compensation plan. And when I was 21, nearly 22 years old, I joined the business on one condition. I did not have to speak in front of the room. I don't want to speak in front of the room. I don't want to have to do all that. I've got a massive fear, my biggest phobia. And they actually say that the biggest phobia is public speaking and then death. How crazy is that? So I joined the business and I started to build a team. I was leveraging social media. This was many, many years ago now. And there was an event. It was in Crewe Hall for my friends who live in the UK. It's in Cheshire, an amazing place to hold an event. And there were 400 people coming. About 300 of them were team members and about 100 guests. And I remember driving my mum and dad in the car. My dad was driving. I was in the passenger seat. My mum was in the back. And we had a friend who was sat behind me. And we were driving to Crewe Hall. And all I kept saying to my dad was, Dad. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm not in the agenda. He said, no. You said you're not going to be a speaker. And that was the condition. And I honor that. I was like, okay, cool. And I'd ask him every 15 minutes in this 1.5 hour trip. And we arrive at the hotel. The energy is insane. There's 400 people all excited to learn more about the business or discover how to different ways to build their business. And I had loads of my friends and my team in the room. And they were all in the back of the room, kind of sat on the back seats, thinking they were cool. And at the break, went to my dad and I said, Dad, I'm definitely not speaking, right? He said, no. So I just had this really weird feeling. And I was at the back of the room with my friends, and my dad gets the microphone. He was hosting the event. It was his event, his team. And he says, I want to welcome to the stage one of my favorite humans in this world. He lives upstairs in my house, my son, Fraser Brooks. And I'm like, uh-oh. I looked straight to the exit door. My dad had put what felt like 2 Albanian bouncers on the door, right? They were just the hardest people I could ever imagine. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to the exit door. They won't allow me. And I look at the stage. My dad's there and he's like, come on. And I walk down the middle of the room. There's side A, side B. It's like a wedding, right? And I'm getting pushed side to side like I'm bowling, and I'm not very good at it on the bouncing rails. And I get on stage. My dad gives me the microphone. I hold the microphone at the very bottom, and you could see the microphone just shaking like this, vibrating with just fear. And my mind goes blank. What do I do? What do I say? I've not prepared anything because I was certain that I was not going to be a speaker. And I open my mouth and I just burst into tears. I had nothing to say. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And my dad saw this. He came on the stage. He kind of grabbed the microphone off me. He kind of said, go back to your seat. And he said, well, that didn't go as well as I thought it would. And I was crying all the way back to my seat. I was so scared. And I was so annoyed and angry with my dad. Even today, some of my friends who are at that event say, hey, when you go speaking around the world, you still cry on stage, right? They make fun of it. It's kind of fun how that is. And people often say you shouldn't care about other people's opinions. But I often say the most important opinion you should care about is your own. So it's not about what other people think, it's about how you think. And I thought long and hard for the rest of that event. And I got in the seat, in the same car that I got to the event, and we drove home. And the 1.5 hour trip was silent. We weren't in an electric car, although it felt like it was. It was silent. My dad was driving, mum behind him, friend behind. My friend must have been hell for him. And we park in the car, drop the friend off. My mum gets out, and it's just me and my dad in the car in the garage. And I turned to him, he turned to me, and he said, you won't let that happen ever again, will you? I said, Dad, that is never happening again. And I realized that it was one of the biggest lessons I ever had that he had to give me. He could have taught me all about professional speaking. He could have told me what to do. But the reality was he had to throw me in the deep end. And he turned to me later that night and says, you know what, Fraser, the first time I spoke in front of an audience professionally, my mentor did the exact same for me, and it's why I'm able to lead organizations of hundreds of thousands of people. So I went upstairs, back to the bedroom that I built my business from, and I made a decision that I was going to turn my biggest weakness into an asset. And years went by, and I traveled to all these different countries, and I really want to start there because I want you to understand, even if you feel you're bad at it or you've got a fear at it, I promise you, you cannot be worse than crying with no words the first time in front of a room of people who know you and appreciate you as the legend's son. And that became my identity up until I became a speaker and people went, wow, his story is actually really cool. So this is what you want to do. These are like some of the steps. Number one, start with your story. Just know your story inside out. And the right people won't find it boring. The wrong people will. So tell your story, get a 60-second version, a 3-minute version, and a 20-minute version. Now, you might be thinking 20 minutes about my story. Trust me, you can get there, but it will take time. Master the 60 seconds. So if you're in an elevator, you can tell your story and people are like, whoa. 3 minutes, maybe a video that people watch and they're like, wow, that was amazing. 20 minutes is you in front of the room with the microphone or with the lapel mic or the headset, whatever it might be, and people are blown away. You know, I've spoken in front of many, many thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people collectively in 38 different countries, translated into pretty much all the languages. Online, I've done events with Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor and Les Brown and Magic Johnson, Grant Cardone. It's crazy. It's crazy what's happened. But the reality is that my story is what inspired most people. My story is what people remembered. And I thought I had to have a presentation and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. People don't remember necessarily all the lyrics to all the songs, although many people do know the lyrics to many songs, but they remember the feeling they got, the emotion that the song had. So number one, start with your story. Number two, go on tour. Now, what I mean by this is I learned this years ago from a friend of mine who does comedy. And I used to say to him, like, how every time I see you, every single joke is not just amazing, but they seem to get better and better and better. And he smiled and he said, that is an entire process where I go to the dive bars, where there's 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, where no one knows me. And I will literally tell 10 to 15 jokes. And when I finished, I will get some feedback from some of the people in the audience or how I feel the joke went. And I will go 1, 2, 3 were rubbish, 4, 5, 6 were amazing, and the rest were bad. So then the next night, I go to a different place. No one knows me. And I will do different, like 1, 2, and 3, different. 4, 5, 6 will be the same because they laughed last time. And then the rest different. Until I have 10 to 15 jokes that are so good that I then rearrange the order so that it kind of makes sense and it tells one big overall story that people are literally coming up for air to breathe. They're elbowing their friends going, that's so true, which is another point, by the way. If you can get someone to go, that's so true, they just remember it, or like, it's kind of like, they just remember it. That's the key. When you have these 10, 15 parts in a row, which are either engaging, funny, memorable, great point, aha, bingo moments, then you go on the big stage and you do that 10, 15, 20, 30-minute, 1-hour-long keynote where everyone goes, wow. Think about it. Go on Netflix and watch comedy. I guarantee you the jokes that they tell, and you can count all the jokes, I guarantee that the jokes that they say were all tested. And it wasn't someone wrote them and went, that's going to crush it. It was, you have to go out there and do it. So you go on tour. How do you go on tour? Especially as you're petrified. Live video on Facebook, live video on Instagram, stories, reels. Tell parts of your story and gauge the feedback. Ask 5 people, hey, you'll notice over the next 30 days, I'm going to be telling a lot of different stories, a lot of different lessons, a lot of different points, a lot of different jokes, a lot of different analogies, metaphors. Whenever you see one that you watch and you think that was really good, please just share it to me and message me saying like, that one was really good. And please do the same with the bad ones, the ones where you lose focus or lose energy. So Number one is really telling a story. Number 2 is going on tour. Number 3, this is an interesting one that I did at the beginning. Study comedy. Now, I actually did this. I shared this with a friend of mine, Rob Sper. Some of you guys in the network marketing space will know Rob, best-selling author, world-class speaker, helps and coach thousands of people in the network marketing space. And I'm super good friends with Rob. I speak to him almost every day. He's an amazing guy. And I shared with him one time. We went to an event. We did an event together in Australia. I did the first two on my own. And then I said, hey, Rob, let's do the event together. We'll call it Fraser and Rob in Australia. Fraser and Rob Down Under. Massive success. There were hundreds and hundreds of people there. We did a second one the year after. And he said to me after, he said, Fraser, how are you able to be super engaging, funny, and like valuable at the same time? And I said, the key was, number one, I studied comedy. And number two, what I found by studying comedy was comedians use their voice very well, but also they use characters and the stage. And since that, like literally the next time we spoke on stage together, he was using his voice like this, and he was using his voice like this, and he was saying like, well, Bob's like this, and then Mary's like this. By doing that, you bring people into the story. Now, are you going to do that straight away? Absolutely not. But this is what you do. Again, tell your story, go on tour online, and then study comedy until you feel that you're really good online. And then the last point here, because we've got to talk about how we make millions of dollars, offer your services to speak for free. Now, in 2017, I'd spoken around the world, but I hadn't been paid to do it. I just did it because it was part of my team. And a lot of people in the network marketing space, they've been to a lot of different places and spoken. But that didn't count towards my 38 countries because I had to be paid to speak in that country for me to count it as a country point. Right? It's like a little game. I think the real flex in life one day is for me to be able to say I've been paid to speak in 100 countries. All right? I'm 36 years old, and honestly, I don't know anyone who's under 40 who's been paid to speak in 38 countries so far. And if you do know that person, let me know down below. I'd love to connect with them. All right? So here we go. This is what you want to do. You're going to go on tour for free. And when I say on tour, you contact a few people and say, hey, I've got an amazing story to tell. It will help your audience with A, B, C. Don't just say, I've got a story to tell. Can I share it? Tell them what the audience is going to get benefit from. And I'm prepared to do it for free, right? Now, you'll start with in your local area. It'll take you half an hour to drive, and it'll cost you maybe $20, $30, pounds, euros in cost. Maybe there's some online events you want to start with as well. And you'll get to a stage and you'll know when the organizer of the event goes, that was flipping unbelievable. Thank you so much. And they feel like they need to donate something to you or like donate to charity, whatever it might be. From that, and I did this all of 2017. In fact, I traveled all over the world in 2018. I went from Germany to the UK, UK to Dallas, Dallas to Vegas, Vegas to Hawaii, Hawaii to Australia, Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, and then back to Germany. I went all around the world speaking at these events. But 2017, I did it all for free. 2018, I started charging for my travel and accommodation. And then towards the end of 2018, I started charging travel, accommodation, and the fee. And the fee was like $2,500. Then it went to $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, and now it's significantly more than $20,000. And there's different prices depending on if I want to speak, if they want me to speak for an hour, 45 minutes, 90 minutes, do breakout rooms, breakout sessions, do like a retainer for like 4 events, whatever that might be. And if that is someone like you and you would like me to speak at your event, I help people with mindset, belief, social media, big time, leadership, all network marketing skills. You can obviously message me on Instagram or on my email. I'll leave the details down below. But if you're someone who wants to go out there and make millions of dollars by being a professional speaker, know who you want to help, know how you help them, know your story, obviously study comedy, and then just go on tour online and share all these different aspects until you can create your keynote. By the time you step on stage, for the first time you're being paid, you should know that keynote inside and out. You know exactly when the audience are going to engage, exactly when they're going to laugh, exactly when they're going to look with a smile, exactly when they're going to elbow. You will know it so much that you won't say, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, point 1, point 2, point 3. You won't need to do all that. All right? Now, If you need my help with anything, especially in the network marketing space, I've left a link down below that you can go check out how I can help you build some skills on social media to build your network marketing business to one day then eventually leverage it into becoming a world-class speaker inside of your business or even outside. And if you're not in the network marketing space, maybe I can't help you from that perspective, but I hope this video has given you value. Do me a favor, give us a thumbs up, smash subscribe, and leave us a comment if you got value from this. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.